A $70 million project expected to bring in millions in direct spending all in its first year. And most people have no idea that this is happening in New Lenox. We're talking about the new Wintrust Crossroads Sports Complex, which opened just last June. Today I'm breaking down exactly what this massive project means for New Lenox and why housing planners across the Southwest Burbs are watching this project very closely. Let's go. Picture dropping your kids off at a tournament, grabbing coffee from the concession stand, and watching their game from a beer garden with a full restaurant that's attached. That's exactly the kind of place that opened in New Lenox last June. The Wintrust Crossroads Sports Complex is a $70 million, 100-acre sports facility that sits at 520 Cedar Crossings Drive in New Lenox. It's right where Interstate 355 meets Illinois Route 6, and so there you've got direct access to I-80, I-55, and I-57. But hold that thought though, because it will be important later when we check out why this benefits the area. So here's what's on the ground right now. We're talking about over 30 fields across multiple sports. That includes 22 youth baseball and softball diamonds, 9 full-size baseball and softball fields, and 11 multi-sport fields for soccer, lacrosse, and football. The facility also has a welcome center, 2 full-service concession stands, a Coors Light beer garden with a restaurant, a playground area, 2 batting cages, and between 1,300 and 1,400 free parking spaces. Now, what makes this complex different from a typical suburban sports park is actually the drainage system. This site can handle 20 inches of rain per hour, which means tournaments, they don't get canceled because of the weather. The artificial turf fields, they stay playable, and that reliability is exactly what travel tournament organizers look for when they're booking venues. And by the way, we'll get to that in just a minute, the location is what drives the business model here. You're 45 minutes southwest of Chicago, within 20 minutes for over 580,000 Illinois residents, and directly accessible from 4 major interstates. That really makes it a regional destination. It's not just a local park. Teams from Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, and across Illinois can get here without dealing with city traffic or complicated routing. This creates a steady flow of weekend visitors, which then increases activity around the local businesses. The hotels, the restaurants, the gas stations, and the retail centers, they're all gonna see more traffic when tournaments are running. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me show you the numbers that are making planners across the nearby suburbs rethink their projections. Sponsorship revenue was originally projected at much lower levels. The complex has now secured over $2.5 million in sponsorship commitments, which is something like more than double the original forecast. Sponsors signed on for 5 to 10-year terms, which tells you that they're betting on the long-term growth here. Now it gets even more interesting. The complex is fully booked every weekend through June 2026. Tournaments are scheduled across 2026 spring and summer seasons. You've got the Tournament of Champions, the Regional, the World Series, and more. But think about how cool this is. The facility opened in June of 25 and already has a full calendar locked in for the next 12 plus months. Speaking of which, the original economic impact projection for year 1 was $12 million. The updated projection is about $37 million in annual direct visitor spending. That's more than triple the original forecast. By year 3, the projected impact is $20 million annually. Once phase 2 is complete, the long-term projection climbs to about $34 million per year. And we're talking about 600,000 plus visitors annually from across the multi-state region. These are families traveling in, staying in hotels, eating at local restaurants, shopping at nearby retail centers, and spending money across the community. Here's what this means. Higher commercial activity often leads towns to review and plan for future housing needs. This type of growth boosts long-term planning for both commercial areas and nearby neighborhoods. So when visitor spending is consistent, cities start thinking about infrastructure, residential capacity, and how to support ongoing demand. And that brings us to New Lenox and the housing boom. But before I talk about that, if these Southwest suburbs are on your radar and you want an agent that knows every single spot and opportunity, reach out to me. I've lived here for over 5.5 years now, and I've helped more than 150 clients buy and sell in the Chicago suburbs. Contact info is going to be below in the description. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so here's where we connect the dots between a sports complex and housing momentum. New Lenox has a current population of over 28,400 residents and grew about 5% from 2020 to 2024, one of the strongest growth rates in the Chicago Southwest suburbs. And that's no accident. For example, Tearling Lakes and Lakes Park are 2 new major subdivisions in New Lenox They were recently approved and are now under construction, or they're selling new homes. So we're talking about active planning here, which shows strong interest from builders who believe that demand will continue. Now let me put this in perspective. Homes here are in the mid $400,000 range, with median days on market dropping from about 75 days a year earlier to roughly 52 days this year. Also, values are up around 5% year over year. So what do these numbers tell us? They show you the activity, but what's driving the activity? Basically, large public amenities like sports complexes, they often help anchor future investment in nearby corridors. When a major facility like the Wintrust Crossroads opens, it signals to developers, businesses, and planners that the area is committed to growth. That attracts commercial development, which in turn supports residential planning. Proximity to two major interstates keeps travel times predictable, which then supports housing interest. Remember the location? New Lenox sits at the intersection of I-355 and I-80, and it also has convenient access to I-55 and I-57. So that means that commuters can reach downtown Chicago in under an hour, and families traveling for youth sports can get to the complex without going through the congested local roads. This helps explain why New Lenox has become a standout suburb in the Southwest region. And we'll go back to this later on, but wait until you see what's coming in Phase 2. Now, Phase 1 brought out outdoor fields and seasonal programming. Phase 2 changes the timeline entirely. The complex is planning a 140,000 square foot indoor field house. That facility will feature basketball courts, volleyball courts, wrestling facilities, and pickleball courts. They're also going to have restaurants and terrace viewing areas. So here's why this changes everything, guys. Indoor sports mean year-round visitors, not just spring and summer. Right now, the outdoor fields operate from mid-March through October. And once the field house opens, programming is going to run 12 months a year. Winter leagues, indoor tournaments, and regional championships, all of that will continue when the outdoor fields close. What this means is that more consistent traffic supports restaurants, retail, service businesses, etc., etc. And the steady commercial activity, that can influence future requests for new neighborhoods or mixed-use areas. When cities see consistent visitor traffic, business growth, and stable revenue from sales taxes and hotel taxes, they start thinking, hey, how many homes does this area need to support this activity? Where should the new neighborhoods go? What upgrades are necessary? Phase 2 is funded using revenue from the tournaments, the sponsorships, and on-site hospitality, with those revenues earmarked to repay project bonds and support future expansion. So it's not through the new resident tax increases, which is great. That financing approach tells you the business model is designed to make the complex pay for itself over time. And before I go back to housing, there's more on the horizon. A 160-room dual-brand hotel is under construction adjacent to the complex. That area also includes 14 acres of commercial space for hotel, retail, and restaurant development, along with new road infrastructure as well. Phase 2 supports the long-term idea that this area will continue to grow. This complex signals that New Lenox is truly thinking in the long term. But let's zoom out and talk about what this means for the broader Southwest burbs. Amenities like trails, parks, field houses, and large sports complexes, they often play a role in shaping the future demand. When one suburb makes a significant investment, neighboring towns, they start evaluating their own planning strategies. Frankfort, Mokena, and Homer Glen, they're all planning new commercial and residential areas based on long-term growth. For example, Frankfort has a median home price in the high 500,000s, Mokena sits in the mid 400s, Homer Glen ranges from the high 4s, over 600, depending on the neighborhood. These towns are experiencing growth, and part of that growth is driven by regional activity. More activity doesn't guarantee higher home prices, but it does help explain why certain suburbs stay active even when the wider region slows down. When commercial development is strong, when visitor traffic is consistent, and when new infrastructure is being built, those areas, they tend to keep demand. These planning trends help you understand the why behind new construction, redevelopment, and long-term growth. So if you're looking at homes in the New Lenox, Frankfort, Mokena, or Homer Glen area, you're buying into a planning strategy that includes sports complexes, hotels, retail corridors, and residential expansion. The Wintrust Crossroads Sports Complex is one project, but it's creating ripple effects across the entire region. And when Phase 2 opens, those effects are going to skyrocket. The Wintrust Crossroads Sports Complex is creating momentum that's reshaping the planning across the Southwest burbs. That's basically where the smart deals are. And if that got you interested in this area or any suburb close by, just reach out to me at john@cintagerealestate.com and I'll show you the data that'll help you buy or sell with the biggest advantage possible. And don't miss this video right here, where I hop in the car and bring you around New Lenox with me. You'll get to see all the coolest areas, all the places that the locals go, and much more. Thanks so much for being here, guys, and I will see you on the next video.